Okay, I think I'm live now. For some reason, I tried going live and I ended up going live in some other event. I don't know why that happened. So, anyway, let's start again. And as I was saying, that it's been a while that I have come live here. I used to do these 2 times a week, but I got busy, so I kind of stopped it. It's completely on me. Before we start, just to let you know, if you're attending this for the very first time, is that we tend to take one topic and we tend to go deep in it. And the reason I tend to follow that approach is because if you don't understand the root cause of why something is happening to you, it is very likely that you will become a very gullible person and you will end up buying anything, right? Like, I get a lot of people as clients who are burnt out from trying out a lot of things that just did not work for them, like meditation and retreats and this and that, and it just doesn't solve the problem permanently, right? Like, it's a good distraction, of course, and it kind of makes you feel that okay, something is getting resolved, but the permanent resolution never happens. And I always find that the reason people end up getting fooled when it comes to their inner work or personal growth is because they don't actually understand why something is a problem for them. So for example, if I am somebody who struggles with, let's say, um, constant headaches, right? And I tend to try every medication in the world instead of first finding why do I keep getting headaches, right? Let's say maybe I get stress induced headaches, so my headaches are not going to stop unless and until I work on my stress. So similarly, if you are somebody who is a personal growth enthusiast and you are somebody who wants to grow in your life, and or whatever, you want to heal a certain issue in your life, if you don't understand the root cause of it, you will not be able to resolve it, right? So that is why in today's live event also, which is where we are going to talk about how to stop feeling like you're not good enough, we're going to first understand where this feeling comes from. So if at all you do decide to work on yourself, you actually know what problem you're resolving. Otherwise you will just end up going for these ridiculous 99 rupees master classes, or this meditation, that retreat. I mean, I have had so many people who have told me that they have tried so many things, but again, at the end of the day, if they would have just gone and tried out trauma informed coaching, it would have worked on them. They would have gotten their problems permanently resolved and stuff like that, right? So, there are certain things that work for certain issues, and it's very important to understand, therefore, that what is the root cause of something so that you can make the informed decision. Okay, I'm going to again check if I'm live now because I'm paranoid again that I have gone live on some other thing. Okay, great. All right, let's start. Now, when we think about this particular feeling that I don't feel good enough, right? Or when a client tells that to me that, Rianshi, I don't feel good enough, I always tend to ask them, compared to what? Like, what is your parameter of enoughness that makes you decide that I'm not enough? For example, if I look at a water bottle and I decide that, okay, this water bottle is not full, it's because there is a full line I'm imagining it to be, or I expect it to be, and it is not that full. So I'm deciding that this water bottle is, only half full. It is not completely full. So for you to decide that you are not good enough, there has to be some parameter, right? There has to be some parameter that you are thinking of against which you are deciding that you're not good enough. And this is something that a lot of people are not very aware of. See, when you decide that you are not good enough, it is coming from some definition, right? I am not good enough means that there is something that I do consider good enough. And the interesting thing about not feeling good enough is that when you struggle with it, you tend to have a very vague idea of enoughness, or you don't have any idea of enoughness at all. It's just a feeling that you keep on feeling that I'm not good enough, or I just don't feel sufficient. I just don't feel that, I'm the right person for certain things. So the feeling of not good enough comes from our definition of enoughness. For example, if I decide that for me, if I have a 20 by 20 vision, only then I will be good enough, right? Now I don't have a 20 by 20 vision. As you can see, I'm wearing specs. So does it mean that all my life I'm supposed to feel that I'm not good enough? Or unless and until I don't get a surgery done where my vision has corrected to 20 by 20, does it mean that I will always feel I'm not good enough? Similarly, you are deriving that I'm not good enough from something. So, for a moment right now, if you're watching this as a recording, I want you to pause this live event and I want you to ask yourself, maybe take out a notebook and write down. When I say that I'm not good enough in something, it could be anything, your career, your relationship, if you have body image issues, whatever. What is your idea of enough actually? What is your definition of enoughness? That's the first question I wanted to reflect on, because this is where the lack of enoughness stems from. And a lot of you may also find that you don't actually have an idea of enoughness. Like, you haven't defined that this is enough for me. So if you have not defined what is enough for you, then on what basis are you saying that you're not good enough? This means that there is no finish line for you, right? Like, you are playing a game that is designed for you to, that is designed in a way where you will fail, right? Now, the thing with the definition of enoughness is that it is not something that a lot of us have actually consciously defined for ourselves. And this is where you may also come and tell me that, Riyanshi, I have never really defined what is enough for me. It's because our definitions of enoughness often are borrowed, right? Or they are absorbed, or they are copied instead of actually created. So, what is borrowed? Borrowed definitions are definitions wherein the definition of enoughness is something that is coming from somebody else's mind or somebody else's lived experience. Okay, for example, let's say, um, growing up, you had an uncle who always said that, people who go to IITs and IIMs are very successful, and your parents also agreed with that uncle. So you ended up borrowing that uncle's definition of what success is, and your entire life was around, if I get into an IIT or IIM, that is when I will be good enough. So if you don't get into it, you just feel that I'm not a good enough person. Similarly, let's say that your idea of I'm good enough came from your mother. Let's say your mother always thought that people who make a house by the age of 30 are, like really successful. So your idea of success your entire life, or your idea of enoughness your entire life, was that I want to make a house before the age of 30. And you don't even know that it is coming from there. You just feel about it very strongly. And that's why when people tell me, that I consider this successful, I always ask them, is this your idea of success? Because I'll tell you what, when something is your idea of enough, your idea of success, it will never burn you out. Because your idea, your definitions will come from an informed space. It will come from a space of reflection, of deeper understanding of who you are, your value system, what is right for you, what is good for you. And if you constantly feel like you're not good enough, then I can 100% guarantee you, 100%, that your definitions are either borrowed, absorbed, or copied. Now, what is absorbed? Okay, absorbed are basically feelings that we tend to absorb, usually from people who we grew up around, right? And it is a very subconscious thing. Okay, so for example, let's say your parents didn't outrightly tell you that, if you always came first in class, or if you always did better than this particular cousin, um, you will be successful. But you always saw them react that way. Like, you always saw them appreciating you if you did well in school. You saw them comparing you with a particular cousin, or you saw them getting happy when you did better than other people in the house or in your friends or whatever, right? So it is an absorbed definition that becomes for you, that if I do better than, my peers, my friends, my cousins, it means that I'm winning at life, right? So it can be an absorbed definition. Right? An absorbed definition is something that you absorb from the environment, right? It comes from as subconscious cues and subliminal language. It's not exactly always very direct, right? Wherein, like, it is the behavior of other people through, like you observe that behavior, and through that you kind of make certain connections and certain conclusions, right? And specifically, if it is coming from your caregivers, your parents, whose validation and whose approval is very important for you as a child, then it definitely comes from them, right? Most of the times it really comes from them only, because you have to understand that as a child, your idea of how valid you are in the world, how important you are in the world, comes from how your parents behave towards you. Because your blueprint of the world is your parents, right? So how they treat you, what they think about you, how they behave with you, kind of becomes the blueprint that you have about the world, and it kind of shapes your self-esteem and your ideas of what you like and what you don't like in your entire value system, right? So specifically, what your parents considered good enough, it's a very high chance that you have also borrowed that same definition without checking in. Like, it could be a very subconscious thing that you have kind of absorbed certain goal, or you are running behind a certain goal in your life that never really came from you. It came from your mom, or it came from your dad, right? Now, what does a copy definition mean? Now, a copy definition is where you kind of decide what is enough for you based on looking at other people, because you haven't really come to a place in life where you can define enoughness for you. So for example, let's say, um, you saw that around 10th standard, everybody kind of became sure of what they wanted to do in life, and you weren't really sure. So you ended up looking at your sibling, or you ended up looking at your friend, and you decided that, you know what, this person knows what they want, so definitely what they are going for is right, so I also need to go for that. So it's a copied definition. It is when you haven't had your own journey, you haven't done your own exploration of what you like, what you don't like, and you have just simply copied someone else's definition, right? And this can also come from anybody. It can be from a friend, it can be from a cousin, it can be from your parent, it can be from anybody. Usually with parents, it's often an absorbed definition or a borrowed definition, but a copied definition is when you just look at somebody and you decide that, okay, what this person wants or what this person is doing is definitely right, so I'm going to do the same thing. And the thing with these definitions is that they are not really yours. So no matter, even if you achieve them, right, let's say by hook or crook you're able to achieve them, you will never feel fulfilled. And that is why a lot of people end up putting things on their vision board that they end up achieving, but they still don't really feel much, they don't really feel fulfilled. It just feels like, oh, another goal. Why? Because it was not your goal in the first place. Fulfillment comes when you are achieving your goals, authentically yours. Not what your parents consider good, not what the society considers good, not what their uncle is praising, but something that comes from you, right? And that is why lack of fulfillment is the biggest sign towards understanding that I am pursuing my life or I am going after things in my life that are not authentically mine, right? Now, let's talk about how they are borrowed and absorbed. Like, how do we end up borrowing these definitions of enoughness or absorbing this definition of enoughness? Okay. Before I do, I'll just quickly check my internet. Okay, I think we are fine. Okay, yeah, I think we're fine. There is no internet problem, thankfully. Okay, now how do we end up absorbing certain definitions of enoughness or end up borrowing them, right? Now, the very first kind of feedback that you get from your environment is from your primary caregivers, which is your parents. So if your parents reacted a certain way, so see, there are two ways. Okay, one is that they directly tell you what is good. Okay, so like for example, some parents are very I would say very vocal and very assertive about what they want their kids definitions of success to be or enough to be. So there are parents like that who say that, um, like if you marry in a certain household, it means that you have made it in life, or if you're in a certain career, it means you've made it in life. So this is where you kind of get your first feedback from enoughness, right? And if you're somebody who has never really been able to create an identity of your own, and you've just kind of been just an extension of your parents, right? Like, and how do you decide if you're an extension of parents? Simply look within. Is your entire life around impressing them? Is your entire life around what will they think of me? I will do this, I will do that to gain their approval, like they are on your mind all the time. If that is the case, then you haven't really developed an identity of your own yet. Okay. Now, coming to the point that when parents are that assertive, or borderline overbearing about the definitions of enoughness, of course you end up doing that. But another way is also where, their reaction towards something kind of makes you feel that, okay, this is what the right definition of enoughness is. For example, if you see that your parents become very happy when they see uh, the photos of those people who are topping their exams in the front page of the newspaper, or who get very happy when, let's say, a cousin of yours has gotten a certain package, or they've gotten into certain they've passed certain examinations, or they've gotten certain position. So that way you may get the feedback that, okay, if I have authority in life, it means that I am good enough, or if I'm making certain amount of money, it means I've made it in life. And because your parents are, making those reactions or praising those certain people, and if they kind of do not give you that kind of love and attention, and presence, then what it can feel like to you as a young child is that I have to become this person, or I have to do this for for my parents to look at me, for my parents to be proud of me, right? And this is where, I want to mention something, and I often tell this to people, that if your idea of success in life is to make your parents proud, then I am really sorry, but it is you taking responsibility of somebody else's feelings, okay? And that's not a sign of always being a healthy adult. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, it is a very normal thing, and a very normal thing to want your parents to be proud of you, and for people to be proud of you in general. But if that is your sole purpose in life, like, how people romanticize it on Instagram, that my sole purpose in life is to make my mother happy, to make my father happy. When that becomes your sole purpose, then you're not really living your life, okay? You are trying to compensate, right, for the sorrows that your parents have experienced in their life. So it is not a healthy bond, okay? A healthy parent child bond is when you acknowledge your parents struggles, okay? You acknowledge what they have gone through, you feel gratitude for it, okay? But you live your life, right? Your life is around you, and your parents are proud of it, it's great. But even if they're not, you still live your life. But if your entire life is around that, I like to call it the Shravan Kumar syndrome. If you know the story of Shravan Kumar, is a very highly regarded son in Indian mythology. Again, I don't know how true that story is, but the point is that when your entire life revolves around that, if I do this, my parents will be proud of me. If I do this, my parents will be happy. If I do this, this will happen, that will happen, and my parents will feel that way. Then you're not living your life, okay? So when you see such reactions happen at your that come from your parents, then there's a very high chance that you end up absorbing their expectations that they have from you as your own goals in life. For example, if their expectations of you was that you become a doctor, you may not even know, but you end up deciding suddenly around age 16 that I will become a doctor, when in reality you have never really had any interest in it, right? You will be surprised, a lot of people's life goals come from that my parents wanted this for me, so I will do that. It's a very subconscious thing, and that is why it's an absorbed expectation. And that is why, even though you may achieve it, you may still feel that I don't feel fulfilled, right? And that is why a lot of people experience midlife crisis in their late 30s and 40s this years, because then they come to a realization that my entire life has just been around chasing approval, chasing validation. Like, I'm not really living a life where I feel that it is something that I wanted to live. The second thing is the level of love and acceptance that you've had from your parents. As I told you, that when you come into this world, okay, you come you come with blank slate, okay, and you are looking to understand and find a place in this world. And the way you feel safe in this world, and I don't mean safe just physically, I mean psychological safety, this feeling of belongingness, right? Where you feel that I actually belong, I have a place in the world, I'm worthy, I'm valuable. All of these ideas come from how much love and acceptance you have had from your parents, okay? And I don't mean love and acceptance just from a place of that your parents loved you. Of course, most parents love their kids. I mean, how present were they with you, right? Consistently and unconditionally. And if you would like to understand what this means at a deeper level, I actually did a 4-day boot camp for healing childhood trauma. Like, you see this blue line, right? I did this a while back. You can find it in the feature section of my profile. You can go explore free resources there, or you can also DM me at CT and I'll send you the boot camp. So there I've explained childhood trauma in detail. So, as I was saying, that you come into this world with a blank slate, okay, and you gain your ideas of self worth, how valuable you are as a person, how worthy you are as a person, based on your parents' response to you. So, their level of love and acceptance also defines how enough do you feel from inside. Because when you constantly feel that I have to perform to feel enough, right? I have to earn certain amount of money, I have to achieve this, I have to achieve that, then your idea of enoughness comes from earning the enoughness. It is not something that is naturally present, which means that there is childhood trauma involved there, right? So, for example, let's say your parents were very critical of you, or your parents' love was very conditional. If you were behaving like a good child, whatever good means to your parents, then they showed you more attention, then they praised you, or they gave you extra attention and love when you were achieving something, stuff like that. So when that is the case, then you start to tie your idea of enoughness with playing certain roles. Like, if I am earning more money, it means that I'm good enough. If I have passed certain exam, it means that I'm good enough. If I've done this, it means I'm good enough. Like, the people that you see who tend to feel that I'm a failure because I've not passed a competitive exam, or I'm a failure because I don't make this amount of money. Their ideas of failure do not actually come from them. Because I'll tell you what, when your idea of failure and success is defined by you will actually never feel like a failure, because you will have enough safety inside of you, enough self-worth inside of you to pivot in life. The people who get paralyzed by failure in life, they get paralyzed because their ideas of failure do not come from them. It comes from somebody else. Most of the times it's parents, and it happens because of unhealed childhood trauma. Because when you do not get unconditional and consistent love and acceptance from your parents, okay, presence from your parents, not just that your parents love you, but they actually have expressed it to you, they've consistently affirmed that to you, they've made you feel safe, they've made you feel good about yourself. When that is not there, then there is a childhood trauma wound there. And to cope with that wound, a child tends to, create definitions in their head, create coping mechanisms in their head that makes them feel that if I do this, my mom and dad will love me more, right? So the kind of love and acceptance you get plays a very big role in how enough do you really feel from inside. So if you constantly feel that I'm not enough, there is childhood trauma involved, and I highly recommend that get one-on-one work done. Okay, work with a one-on-one trauma informed coach. If you would like my help, you can always take my help as well. You can DM me coaching, or you can book a one-on-one session, or you can work with somebody of your choice. But please do work on that. Okay. The next is what you were accepted for. So this is just an extension of what I was telling you guys, that when you are consistently accepted and loved and praised for certain things. For example, um, let's not even take the example of marks and money or something like that. Let's take an example of a behavior. Okay, um, a lot of men are praised for being angry, praised for shouting, praised for being aggressive, and they end up becoming aggressive men growing up. Their parents feel happy that their son is fighting, or that this son is shouting, or this son is assertive, right? So the child understands that I will be accepted and praised more if I behave a certain way, so they become more of that. Similarly, when women are constantly praised for shrinking themselves, being submissive, not having needs, they end up becoming more of that person. So it's the same thing here. Whatever you are praised for, accepted for, or told again and again, directly or indirectly, that oh, you're a good person if you exhibit this behavior, you just end up doing more of that. So similarly, let's say you are praised more for performance, and you will end up feeling that I'm a good person if I'm good enough person if I'm performing, and I'm not really a good enough person if I'm taking a break, or if I'm resting, or if I'm not constantly performing, right? And the same logic goes to if you were criticized for something. So if you were criticized for playing outside, if you were criticized for taking up space, if you were criticized for indulging in art, if you were criticized for being yourself, so you will end up having the ideas that I'm not good enough if I'm being myself, or if I'm taking up space, or if I'm being loud according to other people, or stuff like that. So your idea of enoughness comes from the kind of feedback you've gotten from the environment, right? Now let's talk about how does this lack of enoughness actually manifest in your life. Okay, I will again see if my internet is working fine. Okay, yes, I think we're fine. All right. Now, how does this lack of enoughness manifest? Well, the very first way is burnout. If you're not constantly feeling enough, what are you going to do? There's constant anxiety, and that anxiety is going to manifest into something. The most common way it manifests is constantly working more and more, preparing more and more, constantly doing more and more to compensate for this lack of enoughness that you feel inside of you. The second way it may manifest is you constantly indulge in self-doubt. You're constantly doubting yourself for the things that you're very well qualified for. Constantly doubting about whether you are the right person, whether you're not the right person, right? Self doubt also happens when you're constantly feeling like you're good enough. Another way that it may manifest is indecisiveness, right? This is where you're not able to make a decision because you don't trust yourself, because you don't believe that you're a good enough person. So what can happen is that you may end up, relying on other people all the time, or you may end up always looking for validation from others, always searching it on internet, or constantly being in this analysis paralysis, when you constantly feel like, I am not good enough to make a decision for myself, right? The next is when your risk appetite goes down significantly. Why? Because when you don't feel good enough, you also don't take chances in life. Because to take chance in life, you actually have to have enough inner safety. A lot of people tend to think that the people who end up become like successful, like the people who become successful early on in life, or the people who end up making it big in life, are people who are just lucky. But in reality, it's usually the people who end up taking a lot of chances in life. And to take chances, you don't have to be lucky, you actually have to have inner safety. And that's why inner work is actually how you increase your luck. The more you work on yourself, the luckier you get, because you kind of build that inner safety, so you don't feel the fear of failure anymore, you don't feel the fear of what will people think of me anymore, and stuff like that, right? This brings me to, again, fear of judgment, fear of being embarrassed, fear of being caught, which is also imposter syndrome. When you constantly don't feel enough, you struggle with these fears, because, again, right, you don't even give other people a chance to criticize you, because you already have done that for yourself. So when your risk appetite goes down and you're struggling with all these fears, you don't take the chances that you are qualified for. You miss out on chances that are right in front of you. You let go of opportunities. Right. Another is also comparison. Well, because you don't define enoughness for yourself, you're always measuring yourself against some other people. So the yardstick is always somebody else. Could be somebody on social media, could be a friend, could be a peer, could be anybody. Right. Now let's talk about how can you actually start healing this lack of enoughness. The very first thing is, I want you to recognize whose definition you are living in. Okay. So whatever you consider enough in your life, and I want you to define this for every area of your life, for your health, for your career, for your relationship. Like, what does a good enough relationship mean to you? What does a good enough career mean to you? What does a good enough health mean to you? Go in as much deep as you can. What does a good enough financial portfolio mean to you? What does good enough skin mean to you? Anything, honestly. What does a good enough body mean to you? And ask yourself, where are my definitions coming from? Like, is it coming from my dad, my mom, my friend, my cousin, my sibling, or is it actually coming from me? Really ask yourself, whose story am I living in, whose definition I'm living in. The second is, define what does enough mean to you in every single area of your life. Now this may not come very easily to you, because I'm asking you to think about something that you probably have never thought about. I'm asking you to think about, what does enough mean to you? What does enough money mean to you? What does good enough body mean to you? What does good enough food mean to you? What does good enough relationship mean to you? And this may require you to sit with yourself, this may require you to do your inner work, this may require you to actually think about yourself, about your life, about what your values are. So really ask yourself, what does good enough mean to me in every single area of my life? Next is, separate your self-worth with your performance. The more it is tied, the more you're constantly going to feel that I'm not doing good, because there is no amount of performance that you can do in life that will make you feel like I have made it in the world. Okay, or I've made it in life. That's not a real concept. There's nobody in this world who ever feels that I have made it, unless and until somebody who defines what is enough for them, right? The more your self-worth is tied with your performance, the more your self-worth is tied with output, the more you will constantly feel that way. And if you struggle with your self-worth being tied with performance, again, it comes from childhood trauma. I've already done a really good live event on this. I think a couple of them. You can find it on my YouTube channel. And if you would like to actually work on it, which you should, you can always, book a one-on-one session. But please learn to remove your self-worth from your performance. The more you consider yourself worthy based on your output, the more you will feel that you're not good enough. Because the performance line will always keep on moving. There is no amount of money that you will make, there's no amount of accomplishment that you will make that will make you feel that, oh, I have arrived. That's why it's so important to remove self-worth from performance, right? The next is, stop giving everyone the privilege to define what is good for you. Please stop doing that. Okay, I can't tell you how many of my clients I've told this to. Not everybody in your life deserves the privilege to define what is good for you. Okay, for example, let's say, good enough for me is, let's say for me, good enough movement is that I'm exercising 45 minutes a day, and you come and tell me that Oriansh, you know what, I think you should exercise for at least 90 minutes a day, my first reaction would be that okay, good for you, but for me 45 minutes is enough. That is my definition of good enough. You can have your own definition, I can have mine. When you don't define what is good enough for you, it is very easy for you to get swayed, very easy for you to get influenced, because you become very gullible, right? Anybody can come and influence you. Do not give anyone the privilege to do that, even the people who love you, because just because somebody loves you does not mean that they always know what is good for you, right? They can tell you what is good for them. They can maybe give you very well intentioned advice. It does not mean that they always know what is good for you. Listen to people, have like read books, listen to podcasts, whatever you do, but still make an informed decision for yourself. And the last is do your inner work, because lack of enoughness is something that comes from a deep wound, right? It is an inner child wound where you don't actually feel safe enough to be yourself, and this leads to this fogginess, this non-clarity about what do I really want in life, or what do I consider enough, right? I have helped countless clients of mine with this feeling of lack of enoughness. And how we do it is we do inner child work and we do intergenerational trauma work, where I help my clients connect with their younger versions of themselves who have experienced this trauma wound of feeling like they're not enough as people, and then they made the decision a long time back to kind of look for enoughness outside of them. So the only way to actually heal it is to engage in deep inner work. So if you ever need my help in that, you can always reach out to me. I also have countless free resources, countless free boot camps that I've done to help you start your own inner work at your own pace. You can find it in the feature section of my profile. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions about the topic that we discussed today, even though it was very simple, you can always reach out to me on my DMs. And if you have not joined my free community called the Safe Space Community, where I share free resources, where I share free audio coachings, and where we kind of do also free coaching every single month, go join it. You can find the link in the feature section of my profile. Thank you so much for showing up. Bye bye.